The trees loomed overhead like silent watchers, their dark limbs twisted in the fading afternoon light. Whispering Pines was supposed to be a beautiful escape from the city, a place to unwind, to laugh, to drink under the stars. At least, that's what Ethan had said when he convinced them to come. But now Claire wasn't so sure. They'd arrived early that morning, unloading their gear and trekking deep into the forest to find the perfect campsite. Ethan, Mia, Jordan, Ryan, and Claire had hiked these woods before, but something about tonight felt different. The air was too still, the silence too thick. By nightfall, they sat around the fire, laughing over cheap beer and burnt marshmallows. But Claire noticed Ethan staring off into the trees, his brows knit together in an expression she couldn't quite place. "Hey," she nudged him. "Earth to Ethan, you good?" He blinked, his lips twitching into a half smile. "Yeah, sorry, just thought I heard something." Claire laughed. "It's the woods, dummy. Probably an owl or something." But Ethan didn't laugh. His eyes lingered on the darkness just beyond the firelight. That night, when everyone had drifted to their tents, Ethan volunteered to gather more firewood. He never came back. The search began before dawn. Claire and Ryan scoured the trail, their voices echoing through the trees. Mia's voice cracked as she called his name, her flashlight cutting through the thick morning mist. Jordan went deeper into the woods, his shouts growing hoarse. Hours passed, no sign of Ethan. And then, as the sun struggled to break through the dense forest canopy, Claire saw him. He was standing at the edge of the clearing, just standing. His clothes were clean, his face was blank, his skin pale. Claire ran to him, grabbing his arm. "Ethan, where the hell were you? We've been looking all night." Ethan blinked at her slowly, his voice hollow. "I don't know." Ryan frowned. "What do you mean you don't know? Where did you go?" Ethan's eyes shifted to the trees. "I think I was here the whole time." Something inside Claire twisted at the way he said it. The words felt off, like they didn't belong to him. They packed up camp in uneasy silence, no one willing to push Ethan further. But as they made their way back to the cabin, Claire couldn't shake the feeling that whatever came back wasn't really Ethan. Ethan wasn't the same after that night. At first it was small things. He barely spoke. He picked at his food, staring off into the distance as if something in the shadows was calling him. Then came the sleepless nights. Claire would hear him pacing in his room long after the others were asleep. And the whispering. Late one night, Claire woke to the soft murmur of a voice. She crept to his door, pressing her ear against the wood. Ethan was whispering. To someone. She couldn't make out the words, but his tone was frantic, desperate. She opened the door a crack. Ethan stood in the center of his room, staring at the wall, his lips moving rapidly. He didn't even blink. Claire shut the door quietly and backed away, a chill running down her spine. Mia suggested they set up a camera in Ethan's room. Just to see if he's sleepwalking or something, she reasoned. They were all worried. Ethan was their friend. They had to help him. The next morning, they watched the footage. At first, it was nothing. Ethan sat on his bed, staring at the wall, unmoving. Hours passed. Then, at exactly 3:33 a.m., he stood. Slowly, deliberately, he walked to the center of the room and faced the camera. He stared directly into the lens. And then he whispered over and over, "They're inside now." Claire's stomach turned. "We should take him home," Jordan said, his face pale. But Ethan was listening from the doorway. "You can't," he said softly. "They won't let me leave." Things got worse. One by one, they started disappearing. First, Ryan. They woke up one morning and his bed was empty. His phone left behind, no sign of struggle, no note. Ethan sat at the table, staring at his untouched breakfast. "They took him," he murmured. "They needed him first." Claire felt sick. "Who, Ethan? Who took him?" Ethan looked up at her then, his lips curling into the faintest smile. "The ones in the trees." Jordan and Mia wanted to leave, but the car wouldn't start. The phone signals had gone dead the night before. They were trapped. The following night, Claire couldn't sleep. She lay awake, listening to the creaks of the cabin, heart pounding in her chest. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was moving outside. At around 2 a.m., she heard it, a soft knocking on the window. Her breath hitched and slowly, she turned her head toward the sound. Ethan stood outside, his face pressed against the glass. His eyes were wide, unblinking, his lips moving rapidly in soundless whispers. Claire screamed. Jordan and Mia rushed into the room, but by the time they reached the window, Ethan was gone. By morning, Jordan had disappeared too. His belongings sat neatly by the front door, his shoes still laced. Mia broke down sobbing, clutching her knees in the corner of the room. Claire tried to keep it together, but the weight of everything pressed down on her. "We're getting out of here," Claire said, gripping Mia's shoulders. "We'll find the road. We'll walk out if we have to." Mia nodded, wiping her tears. But as they turned toward the door, Ethan stood in the doorway. "You can't leave," he whispered. "They'll take you too." Claire woke up alone. She searched the cabin in a frenzy, but Mia was gone. No signs of a struggle, just gone. Claire grabbed the camera, hands trembling as she played back the footage from last night. There it was. Ethan standing over Mia's bed, whispering softly before leading her outside. His words echoed in her mind. "They need her now." Claire grabbed a flashlight and ran into the woods, her breath ragged. She followed the trail, calling Mia's name over and over. Then, in the clearing, she found him. Ethan stood motionless, staring at the trees, his bare feet dug into the dirt. His lips moved, muttering the same phrase over and over. "They took them. Now they want me." Claire sobbed, shaking him. "Ethan, what happened? Where are they?" Ethan turned slowly, his empty eyes locking onto hers. "You don't get it," he whispered. "I never left." The search teams found Ethan 3 days later, alone, standing in the same clearing. No sign of the others, no footprints, no answers. When they questioned him, all he would say was, "They're inside me now. I can't keep them out." Claire was never found. And some say, if you walk through Whispering Pines at night, you can hear the whispers, waiting, watching, and sometimes calling your name.